Welcome, horror fam, to HHN 365, a Halloween Horror Nights podcast. My name is Mike, and I'm here with my co-host, Jess and Duff. How's it going, guys?
So tired and so sad.
Sad, tired.
I know. I'm energized, though. I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about the event. Before we get to it, as always, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at HHN365, and we have an awesome TikTok at HHN365pod. You can find our merch shop at HHN365 at bigcartel.com, and you can always leave us a voicemail at 407-906-4134. On today's show, we wrap up HHN 31 and give our final thoughts and our rankings and talk a little bit about next year. We have a lot to cover.
What's new? You know.
Duff, who would have thought we would have HHN 32 to talk about? This is has this ever happened? I guess we should just allude to what I'm just straight up say what I'm alluding to. Have we ever got a house announcement on the last night of the event like that before?
We have had announcements. I don't think we've had a direct house announcement, though. You've got Jack announced at 24. You got 19 with the icons, but we've never, you're getting this exact house. I don't think that's ever happened.
Yeah, and there was that one year where they had they turned Sting Alley into like a little preview for the last night.
Yeah.
Right?
HHN 19, yep.
Yeah.
You could, if you want to make an argument for it, a very different situation. Technically, they announced that Bride of Frankenstein and Tooth Fairy would be returning for the real HHN 30.
Yeah.
Literally
I mean, we knew that was happening, though.
Yeah. And I think it was in September. Well, was it officially announced in September? I guess it wasn't official, was it?
I don't.
Right away. Not right away. It took time because Bride got an announcement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I guess not. Nope. All right, cool.
Did we ever straight up say what was the news that was announced? I think we.
No,
if you're listening,
you were just alluding to it, having a good time.
A Chucky has been announced for HHN 32 via Universal's official Twitter. Correct?
Yep. So it's both Orlando and Hollywood. There's a fun little skit with Chucky announcing it himself. The only thing we know about it really is that it's about the Chucky series that's currently on Sci-Fi, and there's a lot of people who are very excited.
Oh yeah,
are you guys Chucky people?
I don't dislike Chucky. I have concerns about how they pull it off, but also that makes me excited to see if they can execute it, and if they do, I'll be really impressed.
I'm also not a Chucky person. I don't dislike him as well. I like his franchise, some of the movies. But one of my best friends, Aaron, is Chucky's mother, pretty much. So we were in Stay and Scream in Springfield. We were going to do a TikTok live, and we were getting drinks. And Duff turns around after he gets his beer and runs over and goes, "We have a house announcement." And I'm like, "What? No, we don't. What are you talking about?" And then he goes, "It's Chucky." And I just leave Duff and I run to Aaron. And I just start screaming, "Aaron!" And she's like, "I know!" And that was my instant reaction to Chucky.
I think it's going to be fun. I mean, that Scare Zone was really fun. I mean, that one I think was a huge fan favorite, right? I mean, people really like the interactions in there.
No, oh yeah, there are people who loved it. I no. But anyways,
Okay, we'll save it. We have a lot of time to talk about Chucky, because that's the one thing we are gonna have for a while.
Probably until March or so.
Yeah. So we don't have to dive into what we're gonna see in this house. At least not yet. Maybe in a couple of weeks. What else do we have on the news docket?
Well, sticking to the event we're going to discuss this episode, House and Scare Zone of the Year were announced. Which, of course, is decided as an internal thing. However, we just want to say congratulations to Universal Monsters Legends Collide and Graveyard Deadly Unrest.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, both great houses and zones. Amazing cast, too. The cast really made that. I have a close friend who was actually in Graveyard Deadly Unrest, so congrats. Yeah, that's awesome.
And then to go along with getting the Chucky House announcement, the following day, wasted no time dropping more news. Universal announced that Fievel's Playland, Woody Woodpecker's Nut House Coaster, Curious George, DreamWorks Destination, and the Shrek and Donkey Meet and Greet will all be closing as their last day in operation of January 15th, 2023. Which, not the huge news for HHN, except when you think about indirectly where they are located and where you have two house entrances and the full queue. And if that's going to be a big construction site.
Yeah. This is what I did want to dive into a little bit and see what you guys think of what, 32 looks like with, it sounds like this is going to be a big project if this is all going down, and it's not going to be done at least for a couple of years. What's the next couple of years looking like and when it comes to that area?
So I would assume they're not getting rid of Parade Warehouse's locations, obviously. So you're just basically going to have to go further left. Like I'm talking around Springfield, the gate part is potentially that gate. Or if you go further right, we're talking about that's not as direct. You're gonna have to wrap around ET fully.
What about
And they are keeping ET open, so maybe you have ET queue be an entrance and an exit, and you kind of go through that.
No way. It will definitely be an entrance or an exit, but they will have to, whichever one it isn't, will have to go around the backside of ET or again.
And they're both going to have to go through there. They're probably both going to have to go through ET or something like that, and then they're both going to have to exit over by Simpsons, or something like that. You're dumped way over,
or where you exit from the sprung tents, they just send you down that road to exit.
Yeah, they could.
Or enter.
What if could they use the ETQ to hold one of the house queues? Like the inside queue as well, like open up all the doors and just kind of use it and funnel it out. You can go in one way and out the other.
Probably.
Just to hold one house, so hold where Monsters was.
They do it with Fast and Furious this year.
Yeah. Or like you said, Duff, they could go down that road, but they wouldn't be able to use that road for cars and access anymore. Is the only thing, and is that vital to operations?
That is true.
We'll see.
We'll see. It's interesting to see.
Team member preview 2023.
Let us know.
That's a whole area it's gonna feel crowded. I mean, because that kid zone area was a big area where they had a lot of food tents and booths, and
those will still be there.
Will they?
I mean, they're going to be because Animal Actress is still there, ET is still there, so
I guess that
walkway will still exist. It's just once you hit down closer to Fievel's.
So you think the barricades and like the walls will go up right at Fievel's, right?
Yeah, because I mean you have to get to ET still, which is literally past Fievel's.
You're right. You're right. So because that's kind of right at Fievel's is where the queues kind of start. Right?
Exactly. So I think the food booths and stuff that they'd be fine. I don't know if you want to send that many people towards a dead end anymore, but I guess we'll see. Unless, of course, again, if they enter through the ET entrance, that could still be one house entrance right there, of course. And I think that's probably the best way to do it is to fully split them maybe. Again, one there, and then maybe one on the other side of Simpsons. That's not too far of a walk. It's not, the best, but it's not too far.
They separated the two tent entrances to make it flow better. And the walk is significantly longer now.
Yeah, I mean, there are options. It's not like it's impossible, but the dreaded walk is about to get more dreaded, I think.
Start doing cardio, guys.
Yeah. Yep. Well,
and then who knows how long? Yeah, it's obviously going to impact next year, but how many years potentially?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. We'll see. But I'm very curious to see how they approach this.
Well, hopefully there's some Beetlejuice and Hill Houses in there, and not Legends in the Weekend or Graveyard Games and Universal Monsters, because yeah, those ones are going to be hard to walk for the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. But that's it for the news and rumors section. So I think we can just break down for the last time, sort of, HHN
We
31.
didn't talk about the
We
video.
didn't about the
What did
video,
we talk about?
the little Earl video.
You guys can take it. Go ahead.
Oh, come on. I thought it was adorable. So earlier today, Universal tweeted out a video, and it was inside Dead Man's Pier with all the show lights on, and there was a security guard, and Earl the Squirrel cut the wires, and he said, Halloween's over, and that was the video.
It was cute. I just
I
watched
loved
it like maybe 5 seconds ago. It was very, very, very adorable. I liked it, and he chewed the wires. He's like,
Yeah, sorry, he didn't cut them. Yeah.
He cut them.
He had
gnawed them.
scissors. He
Yeah.
just looked him in the eyes and just went snip.
Yeah.
I just love that they did it in like one of the two fan favorite houses. They were like, let's stab him in the heart one more time.
Mm-hmm.
I just find Earl the Squirrel adorable, especially the fur version. I just think he's just cute to look at.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think it's fun that, especially like, it separates. We're just doing holidays at a theme park to this is Universal's holiday. They have a little icon for it and everything.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right, Duff. You're right. Let's hop in to just kind of dissecting and putting to bed, sadly, HHN 31, the big picture overall of the event. Where do we want to start? How do we want to do it?
Well, I think the easiest way to do it is to start with the event overall. How's the vibe? How did it treat us? What do we think about it? The dreaded soundtrack.
It grew on me. It grew on me. I like it. I think by the sixth or seventh time, it felt like HHN again. I know I said early on I was, it felt like I was walking in. It just didn't have that same hype. I started to get it. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I started, what I did like, guys, is that because it wasn't just heavy metal, you can actually hear the lyrics of the songs, so you can then they're catchy and you can actually sing along with them, and a lot of them are earwormy too. So it was fun. I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, so it seems like if you're on social media that this event vibe was terrible. The music sucked. People didn't really enjoy it, which and then they usually compare it to last year, which they say have great vibes. Which, I feel the opposite. I thought HHN 30 felt like a mishmash mess as far as like the total vibes went. And this one, I mean, it is a very consistent theme. Everything connected. The music, I actually liked the soundtrack. I do agree that it was too short, and they cannot do that again because that makes some songs very annoying once you hear them for the 750th time. But I mean, it was traditional Halloween, and it was just something that's very much up my alley.
Yeah.
So, that's how the event works. Sometimes it's something you enjoy, and sometimes it's not. That's life. That's not just the event, right? That's art, sports, whatever it may be. That's how it works.
Not everything is made for you specifically. And that's,
And there's nothing wrong with not enjoying something. It's fine. It's fine.
I hate that one song. Another way.
Yeah, I was. I think it just has such a clear chorus that you hear so often that you just couldn't miss it. So it felt like it was on all the time. And again, soundtrack so short compared to past years.
That was my issue, was that specifically only that song. I don't mind Psycho.
I think that was the starting song too. I think that's the starting of the song of the loop. Yeah.
The loop would start, and then, I didn't dislike the whole loop. It was that one specific song, and I felt like she was always screaming at me for no reason. I also will say the sound levels this year were very wishy-washy depending on where you were at the event. sometimes the lines were blowing your eardrums out when the
Oh my god!
videos.
Turn down the Q videos. Holy
But then
shit!
they were muted like the past 2 weeks, I feel
Good,
like.
mute them. Goddamn.
I have a little story about Duff. We were waiting for some Reuben fries, and the restaurant wasn't open yet, and we were sitting kind of around the corner there at Louis, and there was like this weird like mishmash of like the park wide loop blaring in one ear, and the like just the screams of the kids from Sweets in the other ear, and Duff was just like very quickly just was like about to have an aneurysm. He was very upset about
And
what was
I
going
was
on.
very upset because I said we shouldn't sit here. It'll be
I didn't
annoying.
know Duff
And it
had
was like,
sensory
no, no,
issues.
no, 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 no. And we sat there, and it was like getting a speaker shoved in both ears,
Yeah, yeah,
playing different things. And I wanted to
yeah.
smash the Louis window and hide in there.
Yeah, Duff just wanted out. He just wanted. He just like, let's go.
But that's how entering New York from any direction was like. You would hear the Sweet soundtrack in one ear, and then the girl screaming "Another Way" in the other ear, because it was only that song over and over again, and it was just terrible. And then like the good thing about Conjure the Dark to me was that soundtrack overtook the loop,
Yes.
so I didn't have that issue walking into that zone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I don't want to complain about the loop, but Duff, I have to agree, the vibes this year for me, they were great. But I also think that some people put a lot of pressure on the event to give them these memories when, like for me, it's the people I go with. It's the memories I make with my friends. It's bullshitting in line with Duff while we wait for the express line to finally pick up. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's not,
right.
It's not, it is the walkthroughs. It is the scare actors. I'm not saying it's not that. But for me, it's the people I go with.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Although I enjoyed the people I went with last year, and I still thought the vibes were off.
Well, same. I'm not saying last year I hated everybody, but yeah. No, the event, it also can make or break it. But don't put so much pressure on it. It's a haunt event. It's seasonal. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Well, so that was the kind of the overall vibe. Anything else we want to talk about overall vibe? I think they kind of.
Yeah, I think there's a few things we can add. The additions of things like Dead Coconut Club.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
So good. Literally that whole team behind it. You're brilliant. I love it.
Is this a good time to talk about the merch with the overall event vibe? Because holy shit, guys, the merch was on point this year. Mm-hmm. Like they must have invested a lot of money in finding these great graphic designers and letting them just kind of take risks with some of it. Not all of it was good, but some of the stuff was just so good. Mm-hmm. I'm really, really happy. If this is what's going to be coming with the merch and the food and drink choices, and we'll get to that in a second, but like, holy crap, like, where was this for the last 30 odd years when it comes to the merch? Yeah. Like the merch was on point this year. Mm-hmm. Is it just because it's a Halloween year? No, because they could have done this shit.
I think they just fully amped it up. That they went to a different level and took it a different direction. And you know what's funny? People asked for that for so long, and I heard so many complaints about the merch sucking this year. And I was like,
oh my god.
The merch is so good.
People have different opinions, but you have your goddamn mind. If you just want to go back to having blood red font on a shirt, you could enjoy that. I will take this very diversified style of shirts and art and merch
but
that's available to us.
But they still gave us a blood shirt with the Chucky stuff, with the snitches
they did.
and
stitches. The Scream Squad shirt.
They still gave us that whole colorway that we used to.
Yeah. They gave us every property we had, every original we had, different. Like there was like 4 or 5 different designs just for the event year itself.
Yeah,
there was just so much variety, so many different types of items.
And we got such a good, just like overall theme with that everyday is Halloween motif.
Yes.
Like if you don't like that, I'm sorry, you're wrong. I know I said it's not everything is for everyone, but it's Halloween. It's 31. It made sense. I loved it.
I don't normally go crazy, but this year I have a mini tribute store in my living room right now. I have bought so many items. Now, granted, a lot of that was for the half off sale and the 70% sale, but I went ham. It is all just so good this year.
I want to highlight one item, and it's the most simple item they could ever have, but they did it. The drink holder sling.
Oh, Duffel
Game
loves
changer.
it.
The
Yeah.
sip sip. We called it a sip sip.
Yes.
The technical term.
I'm sorry, yes.
Duff has a vibe, and he gets two of them, and he puts them kind of crisscross down his chest, and he calls it Ramboing.
No,
No,
I
don't call it Ramboing.
I call him HHN
Okay.
Rambo. He's got one sling on each arm and his pass on his lanyard.
He saw another person doing it, and he got very upset. I'm outing Duff on this one. He's like, "That's my style. That's
West
my
Side
style."
Story.
Yeah. He's like,
no, that thing is great. And also, like, you used it, or I don't know if you used it, but someone suggested I used it as a bag at Knott's, and I should have, and I didn't, and I regret that.
Hi, that was me.
It was genius. You can use it for so many things.
Anything.
It is utilitarian. I just bring it back every year, bring it back for every season. I'll buy a Mardi Gras one, buy a holiday one.
Just wait till next year. I'll be triple swinging, lanyard with the pass, and the fanny pack around my body.
Oh. No, that drink holder was genius. It fit Blinky cups. It fit everything. Mike, did you have a favorite?
I do have a favorite item, and it's an item that I didn't know it existed until about a day before the 70% off sale. And that is the pick your poison, like beer can glass with the little, the edged glass. So cool. I didn't even know that was there. And I saw it online, and I'm like, I need to have that. So cool. I don't really collect a lot of stuff. I'm not really a thing person, but I do collect glassware, and that is a really neat glass. Way better than a lot of some of the other glasses we've had in the years past.
Oh yeah,
it was very cool design. Very cool design.
Yeah.
More
beer glasses, please. I love that. Maybe some wine, and I liked that we had some stemware-less wine glasses. We had just a lot of variation of glassware, which is kind of my jam. I like, we had a lot of really cool stuff.
Yeah. All of my favorite things this year were shirts because of the variety, and I hate being so basic, but
yeah. I mean, we had some amazing shirts.
I honestly, that snack shirt, that pizza fry shirt, I waited until it was on sale because I knew I had a feeling they bought enough. Yep. But like, I would have bought it full price. But I just knew it's my favorite. It's blacklight too. I found out.
Most of them are this year.
I love a really gimmick. Cool. I love a blacklight. If you see my hair, obviously, like. But yeah, just overall, this is in the 5 years I've been going, this is my favorite year for merch. I feel like everybody's saying that, but.
Yeah, I agree with that fully.
No, yeah, that was good. There's just so many really good. The annual pass, Pumpkin Lord one, knocked out of the park. That one was really good.
I think there's a better Pumpkin Lord shirt out there, but
yeah,
I'm biased.
Yes.
I did see a lot of great event merch that's not from the event that people were wearing. I'm just saying it.
Yeah. I mean, I like that trend too, and I think
I was talking about us only, but okay. Yeah.
Wait, can we take this moment to just, if you bought a shirt and wore it to the event, or even didn't, just took a picture, sent it to us, or just bought one? We appreciate you. It was so cool to see the shirts in the park.
That was awesome.
So cool.
Yes, and I think as the event merch gets better, and I think the fan merch grows along with it, and I think that I love this trend of where it's going, for sure. Food and drink, because we can
food and drink time.
So this one I didn't get to dabble as much, mainly because this is gonna be the one thing that I am gonna complain a little bit, and I try not, but there was some ops issues this year, and I don't know if even the food and drink lines were just miserable. Unfortunately, I feel like, at least for me, I would wait like 25 to 30 minutes anytime I wanted a snack. And I just, as someone who does not get to go to the event as much as y'all do, I just couldn't justify getting all the food and drink every time I went, because I didn't want to wait 25 minutes to do so. I'm not. They added a lot of booths, so I just think it was really popular. I don't even know what to do about it, but I didn't get to try as much as I would like. Maybe staffing issues. I don't know what to do about it, but let's try to get those lines down somehow.
Mm-hmm. I think that kind of goes to the larger issue of the event capacity in general.
Yeah.
Is it time to, if we're not talking about like cutting back and like really limiting capacity, is it time to add another house? Is it time to add another scare zone, another show, things that will eat people and take them away from food and beverage lines? Yeah.
I think so.
Bring back the tent over by Men in Black and just add the 11th house. And then what is that?
Yeah.
That would technically be, I guess, 4 tent houses if you count Fast and Furious as a tent, because it is technically half a tent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it has a tent.
It could, well, it depends on how long they make the house, because I feel I don't know if it was ever confirmed, but Blumhouse felt like a mega house.
Yeah, it
so
did.
Yeah, I don't know.
It did. It did. Those easily could have been separated this year if they really wanted to. Black Phone was very long, you know.
But could they still do the Bugs tent house with that walk and use the Men in Black tent again? They could use the Men in Black queue.
Yes,
obviously,
because that queue is normally the Men in Black queue was usually it was like the shortest queue, and it was usually like a lot of switchbackies right in front of where that tent was. They would just like have you just go like zigzag like a billion times right in front of that.
I mean, they could always just also go back to exactly what they did before. It's not like it's not a possibility.
But yeah, I think an 11th house at this point is needed.
Sorry, we went a little bit on a rant, but overall, what did you guys think of those guys of you who did get to partake on probably everything you wanted to try? What did you think of the food and drink this year?
Fried zombie brains.
Oh, yes, yes, I did get to try that. It was
phenomenal,
so good,
top notch. Oh, loved it. Reuben fries, delicious. I mean, some of the food items were misses, and that's always going to be the case, you know, when you're putting that much out. But for the most part, massive win on food. Like, if we're just talking about quality of food, massive win. And please keep doing what you're doing and bring back Reuben fries every year.
Oh,
thank you very much.
Please. If the Reuben fries are gone next year, I'm gonna riot. I'm gonna go to Louis and put my lock myself to the counter and just hunger strike.
You do the counter on the right, I'll do the counter on the left.
Right.
And then Duff will get the megaphone and just start screaming.
Got it.
They're gonna have they call the police and like cut me out of Louis.
They can't get me out.
They can't get us all.
To focus more on drinks though, I kind of the same thing. I appreciate how many different specialty cocktails are around the park. It was so many, way more than they've ever done as far as like a specialty cocktail. You know, the pre-mixed drinks go. Most of them, for me, were misses, but I am not their market for that style of drink. I don't like a super sugary pre-mixed drink, and there's a lot of people who act like they love that shit. So that's just a matter of me not being that market. I will say beer options. What was there was solid. Expand it, please.
Yes.
It's like adding lacto cooler. Huge win.
Holy
the
shit.
Amount of people who would never grab. They would only get the pre-mixed drinks. That's all they do. Suddenly we're grabbing lacto coolers. Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Yeah, can I just rave about lacto cooler for a little bit?
Please.
I mean, I'm a big sour beer guy, and I never expected that I would be able to just grab a milk sour like that in my favorite Halloween event. I never expected to have a quality beer that's just right down my alley, themed around Ghostbusters, no less, just right there every tent that I wanted to grab. It was I was in heaven every event night because of Lacto Cooler. It was probably my favorite element of this year was having the accessibility of Lacto Cooler. I loved it. I drank probably at least 3 or 4 a night. Most nights I went. I spent way too much money on Lacto Cooler. Please bring it back, or maybe a couple like that. Maybe some hazy IPAs. But
Which they did have one.
They had one. It was okay. Let's have some. Yes, please. Yes, please. But please bring back Lacto Cooler as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is a hot take. I might make Duff mad, but I did love the fried zombie brains until they became very inconsistent, like most things at the event this year. And Reuben fries passed it, and that was my number one food item.
I respect that. I respect that.
Consistently good.
Yes, I've never had a bad Reuben fry, and Reuben fry was my favorite food. And drink was the Lacto Cooler, and you can't really compare the two. So those kind of go hand in hand to me. Lacto Cooler was number one, and drink. And
I guess we should do that too. Jess, do you have a favorite drink? I guess because you already said food item.
Okay. So, does it have to be an event drink?
Yes, it does.
I was gonna say picklebacks at Finnegan's.
I was gonna say you can get
that is now the 365 tradition, Mike.
Spicy
next time we're all together, spicy picklebacks at Finnegan's. You could find us there at any given time.
The amount we put down over the past, it was mainly throughout October that we were like kept going back.
The amount of Jameson I consumed.
8 to 10 people deep. Just all right, line them up. Let's go.
And it was always Duff and I ordering at the bar for the 8 to 10 people. So we're just like, all right, spicy pick. Okay, that's not one of the event drinks. Sorry. So actual event drinks, Save Your Tears was my number one.
That was very good.
It was, whiskey, which I hadn't been able to get a whiskey premix drink at the event, and that's my liquor of choice. The boba straws not being throughout most of the run, I enjoyed the drink more with the boba straw, but I see how some people, it made it worse because you got more boba, obviously. I know it hurt people's stomachs. It never hurt mine, but whatever. But my honorable mention is that Lombard's bar. That needs to never leave.
I was going to count it as my top drink. While it wasn't a specialty cocktail, it was a specialty bar with sort of limited liquors and mixers. So I was going to say, specifically at Lombard's, you get the double. If you had your refill cup, best part about this place, refill price is $13. It's an automatic double with your refill cup. So you're saving $4 a pour.
Yep. A double is $17 to $18 anywhere else in the park.
So huge win there. Anyways, I did the double Crown and Ginger, and I did more than I care to admit over the course of the event.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
if we're talking more event specific, to be honest, the Hacker Shore Oktoberfest, just grabbing a beer was what I did most often outside of that.
Yeah, good job this year. There was literally, if you liked a certain liquor, you could find a pre-mixed drink somewhere in the park with it, which was nice. We've never had that. It's normally gin, vodka, tequila, or rum are the main.
Yeah, it was there was a liquor for everybody, and multiple. There was whiskey option, bourbon option. So the whiskeys are there. I appreciated that.
There was absinthe.
Yes.
At the event, which is so Halloween, but so I would love to see numbers of how many they actually sold. Oh, there was a Bloody Mary too. But I want to see the numbers on obviously we know what drink they probably sold the most of, but the least.
Anything else about food and bev?
Well, you guys did over the weekend partake in something that we have never done. That is character dining.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
You want to give a little mini review?
Sure. Yeah. Jess, I'll let you start.
All right. So the best way I can put it, it was a dining experience at Louis with 4 scare actors. Boom. The food was not fantastic, but what do you expect at Louis?
I was expecting a little bit more, I'm going to be honest. If you're dropping that much money, the food should I don't want to say it was inedible, but there were items where I took a bite and I was like, I am not wasting space on this. This is not good.
I would put it back on the plate and just move on.
Can I get some Reuben fries? I know you got them back there. This is the place where I know they're just right back there.
Their best item, and I say this like completely not tongue in cheek. I mean this. The best items were the Caesar salad.
Yep.
And the hummus in a cup.
Yep.
And it was just very standard theme park hummus. It wasn't special hummus.
Oh, no.
Everything else, like the mac and cheese was fine. I ate it.
Yeah.
But the meatball slider, I think it was the way that one was cooked. So maybe if it was a better cooked one, it would have been better. The carving station meat, what was it?
There was strip loin, and then there was the black linguine with shrimp and ricotta. And I took a bite and went, no, thank you. The pizza was good because it was Louis Pizza.
Yeah, they did have the pizza. That's right.
That was about it. The desserts Mary said were terrible, so I didn't touch them.
Oh man! Well, how were the character interactions? Because
there's
the other thing you're paying for.
I mean, I thought they were all good, but there was one really good one.
Oh yeah. So you get a picture. There's a photographer, and you get a digital download for your pictures with the mummy, and then with Michael. And so we did that. But as we were eating, there was a coven witch that kept coming around. She was there.
Mm-hmm.
There was I think a trick or treater from Sweets.
Okay.
And then the best interaction was the mask maker, which is what they're advertising.
Right.
It took a while. We did not get to talk to her until literally we were about to get up and leave. But that's because she goes and sits down and gives each table time.
That is cool.
You very much feel like you're in, a Puerto Rican town, and the aunt is, talking to you and telling you about the Fiesta de Chupacabra and how she's the mask maker. We called her, Rosalia, which is her name. And she's like, oh no, that's not my name today. I'm the mask maker. Who told you? If you knew the backstory from the podcast, she knew it, and she was very much playing into that. Duff had a great interaction with that I'll let him talk about.
I mean, it was the same interaction, but
no,
just brought
the
up
sangria.
Because it's It just we were talking about Dia de Sangre, which of course we revealed, and she's like, yeah, no, but that's a good thing. In fact, I call it Dia de Sangria.
She was great.
That's fun. Her. So she can improv and riff with you. That's
yeah.
That's fun. I like that.
But $55 a person for, almost inedible food and, some good interactions, but I need to know that it's worth it to do this again next year.
And I will say, the food that I have seen in the videos when they were at Monsters Cafe was the Monsters Cafe food we had eaten before. Let's think back to Behind the Screams, it looked like the same stuff. That would have been worth it. It's not amazing, but I would pound that stuff down and be content, paired with the interactions. So I think just the food and the location of it kind of was a bummer. It was a little bit of a bummer. I enjoyed it, but I would not personally recommend it for that price point. In fact, I wouldn't recommend it unless it was 30 or less, to be completely honest.
You're not the first people to say this. It has always gotten kind of, I would say, mediocre reviews.
I mean, and that's why I just went for the first time this year. All the years I've been going, and this is the first time I finally did it, because all I'd heard was and I'm not someone who likes character dining in general. I thought this was the best version of it for me, but
I really like what they. It sounds like what they tried to do here with this mask maker interaction, to have her come around and really kind of tell you a story and really build the world of that house and elaborate on it. That's really cool.
And I wish they would have done it more, because the other characters, while I thought they were great, they were no voice. Not speaking roles. So if you have multiple, three, just three from houses, scare zones, whatever it may be, so you actually interact about that story and the lore around it, would be great.
I wish they had done this before, and I hope they continue it. Could you imagine if Hamlet from Puppet Theater came around and improved with you for 5 minutes,
Oh my
or
god.
if any of the people from Legends Collide
Hmm.
came around, like the singer from and put on a little show or something, and sang some songs from the Kit Kat Club. Um, it would have been. There's so much potential here if they use the original stories that they have of these houses and build something there with and let these characters interact with the guests and
Hmm.
improv. There's so much potential here. So, and I think they're just scratching the surface with it, and I hope they continue. But you have to get the food right
Hmm.
first. Um,
Yeah. Which it seems like before it was, fine. Like no one raved about it, but they're like, yeah, no, it's fine food, whatever. 'Cause, I mean, I had it. I saw it. It looked, it was good. Good stuff. I've had it before. This stuff though was not. Yeah, you need to get it right. Go back to what you were doing. I don't care if it's in a different location. Do the same menu because holy shit.
Well, that's the food and drink. Let's move on. Do we want to start with shows? Just kind of breaking down our overall thought of the shows this year. The shows, there's probably not as much to say because one of them, unfortunately, had to be discontinued due to Hurricane Ian, and then the
Hmm.
other one was just kind of. It was kind of last year's show, but with some added elements. So let's go into it real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Ghoulish was great the two times I got to see it,
Mm-hmm.
which was unfortunate because
So
I
good.
thought it was really good. It was a lot of fun. I thought it was really hokey and
Yes.
just this traditional Halloween goofiness. And I thought
Please, more of that. More of
uh,
that. Think outside
Yes.
of the box when it comes to that
mm,
Lagoon show because it was great.
it was like an old like radio like horror broadcast, like telling
Yes,
scary story type deal. That's
I
what they were
loved
going
it.
for. It worked really well. The imagery was great. I think the way that they involved an IP on the weekend and kind of tied that in and had their
Hmm.
own like remixed version, and the way they built into it was really tasteful and to fit in
Mm-hmm.
with what they were doing. I just thought it was really well done. It was a lot of fun. I don't know if I'm ready to say it was better than 29's Marathon of Mayhem, but it was very close at least.
Now, I have a question about Ghoulish, and you may not know the answer because you just said that you only saw it twice. Early on, there were rumors that there was actually going to be like two different show versions. There was going to be the A side and the B side. Did that ever come to
No,
fruition?
no,
No.
that was just the sign, and I think that's
That was
well,
graphic
whether
design.
yeah,
Yeah.
they put a side A, side B because that's it's fitting for the image, but it also makes you think there's multiple, which is
Yeah.
yeah. Does that mean that this was never considered or anything? No, of course not. I know there has been actual rumors that yeah, oh yeah, they were considering it. I know nothing about that, and it never actually happened. So
Yeah, we barely got, the one show.
Yeah.
mm,
The B side was just a no show at all. It's just a scratched B side. You just skipped. That's what they should
Literally.
have done. They should have put the broken show up and just be like, "Oh, the record got scratched," and
oh,
just ran it every night.
speaking of record scratch, one of my favorite parts was if we go back to like Marathon Mayhem again, 29, when they did the whole like rewind thing.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of a rewind, they did like a record scratching to do it, and I thought it was so cool and so clever to keep that like gag going.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, Ghoulish made me like, Lagoon shows. And I said it before, I did not like Marathon of Mayhem. I did not like last year's. I really liked Ghoulish. It made me stand and watch something. So I was really sad when it disappeared. I was looking forward to dancing to Disturbia.
yeah. Yeah, I only saw it once, and I loved it. I loved every second of it. I was very sad when I found that it was likely never to return. Um, but what we got was amazing. But so please more of that, Universal.
Hmm.
Yes, absolutely yes. That was a hit. All right. And then there was another show, and it was a good show, but it was kind of last year's show. right? For the most part, I watched it once, and I didn't. To be fair, I didn't see last year's show, but so I'm kind of going off of what you have told me, Duff. Nightmare Fuel Wildfire was essentially just kind of Nightmare Fuel.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I don't know an exact scene by scene breakdown. I could go back and count it, but yeah, we'll call it about a 50-50 of kind of repeat and not repeat. Scenes, music, everything for the repeat portions were the same.
The story was exactly the same, apparently.
Yeah, it was like a different nightmare, though, kind of. But yeah, it very talented people, very fun show. But I basically saw it last year, and it's so fucking hot. It's so hot. It's like you're sitting there like enjoying it, but not fully enjoying it because you feel miserable. You're just literally burning. Especially when I was going. I don't think I went once in October. I should have gone on one of the cold nights thinking about it to really try to enjoy it. It's still like 85 degrees out, humidity sky high, and there's just fire being pumped constantly. And it's like, oh, okay. This is not comfortable in any way.
Yeah, I never saw it. I'm sorry. Sorry to people who like it. Everything you guys already said, I don't want to go sit in a hot theater with 1,000 other people. And the seats are not comfortable. I watched the YouTube video. I watched a really good recording of it. It was very similar to last year's, and I enjoyed last year's, but it was not something I had to see more than, I think, the 2 times I saw it.
Yeah.
So it was a skip for me. I'm also, I've said it before, I'm there for the houses. I'm very much that bitch.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it. I am kind of a proponent of that. There needs to be something. I like that they try. I like the magic show element. There needs to be something lighthearted to take you out of of it. And I let's. It took itself very seriously. I want something. I want some jokes. In a show at HHN again, please. Have something lighthearted. This was good, but it's just not gonna get me to come back and watch it more than once or twice.
Yep. I saw it twice. That was my count this year.
Oof, no,
and I was very content with that.
I understand needing something, sexy at a haunt. That's a very traditional thing to have.
Yeah.
SeaWorld has Monster Stomp.
That much fire.
No, I am not disagreeing with you.
I mean, Bill and Ted was very sexy. That was my favorite part. Was some of those dancers of both genders were very good looking people in Bill and Ted, and they were in Nightmare Fuel too. It could be sexy without having to be take itself so seriously.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, so unfortunately, shows this year only partially let down because sort of the same show won and the other one gone for more than half the event's run. So sad. So we don't need to rank them. I think everyone knows where we stand. So shall we move on to scare zones?
Yes.
All right. So how about we do it by taking a stroll around the park? If you're going clockwise from the entrance, which would start us off with the horrors of Halloween and, big old pumpkin lord farting in your face. Yep. I'll say it. They ruined Pumpkin Lord. He got ruined. Yep. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
If you're going to put a show scene, don't put it in a place that's going to congest the entrance to the park, please.
It already got congested enough as is, and they're like, what will help? A show scene. Not just a show scene, a live actor that's there the whole time that you can interact with. But most of his interactions are going to be Barts and Ferps. Farts and Ferps.
That sums up the Pumpkin Lord right
there. Yeah, that's it. He went from, he's a little goofy in the house. That was part of it. But he went from, menacing little goofiness to that.
Yeah, it was amusing for the first 5 minutes on the first night I watched it. And then it just got extremely frustrating to have him there, mainly because logistically it made it impossible to get around him. I just kind of avoided that area because it was just a mess.
Mm-hmm. And then outside of Pumpkin Lord, though, I do appreciate that they use that as the zone because of Pumpkin Lord that tied every other zone together, right? I thought that was a cool concept. I thought the pieces for that were really nice, but it
Yeah.
felt so thin.
Yeah.
There just wasn't enough. And, I love that truss. That truss looks great, but like, I don't know, just cover it in vines and pumpkins, and that's it. That's your centerpiece. That's really all. I don't know. Just it really did not work for me.
No. And those zones typically do not ever work for me,
Oh,
but this one was, yeah, not, it was not it. And I knew going into it, it wasn't going to be for me. The set pieces started popping up, and then on opening night, when there was nothing more,
Yeah.
nothing rolled out, nothing like that, it was
mhm.
like, oh, and then I feel like there were only 5 actors in the zone besides the Pumpkin Lord at most
Yeah,
times.
yeah,
So
and
Finn
again,
already on sets, and then that.
cool that it ties in everything because that's the whole Pumpkin Lord part of the event.
Hmm.
Cool,
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I need more, and if
Yeah.
space is an issue, then more sets but smaller ones, kind of spread out, would help too. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just it was again didn't expect much. This location's always going to be 5 or 4 at best on my scare zone
Yeah.
rankings, but this was just not a great example of how to fully execute it, in my opinion.
I'm going to say something controversial. And I would say, moving forward, if we're just going to get a truss and a few characters in there, I would rather have have it not be an official scare zone and it be an
Mm.
unofficial scare zone and get
Mhm.
another official scare zone somewhere else um, than just to get what we're getting with the truss in it, because I like the truss of Howling Hornets and like how it
Mhm.
looks visually. That could just be an unofficial zone, and you throw in some, let's just give us something else somewhere else, else. Like let's give us an actual scare zone somewhere else where you can actually work with it. They have the space in the park, maybe not the next couple of years because of what's happening in Kid Zone, but you have places you can put it. They've done it in the past where they, didn't they put um, killer clowns in an kind of an unusual place
Hmm.
that we
Mhm.
haven't gotten in a while. They have places in the park where they can do other scare zones. I would like to see it somewhere else if that's um, if logistically it's just hard to do anything too elaborate in the main entrance, and I get it. Let's just have an unofficial zone with the truss, and maybe throw in a few unofficial actors and have it be what you're doing now. Just let's not have an official scare zone and give us another official scare zone somewhere else.
They could also just throw what they already did and put the Chainsaw Drill team there.
Yeah,
They were in
yeah,
front of the
Mhm.
Pumpkin Lord most of the time anyway, which you would have
yeah.
the Pumpkin Lord farting and burping, people crowding around, and then the chainsaws 5 feet away, literally
Hmm.
blocking the sound of the Pumpkin Lord. It made no sense to me half the time.
Yeah.
I understand they were like chasing people out and like, taunting people coming in. At that point, put the truss up, make the truss be the end of that, and have the
Hmm.
chainsaws just in the beginning of the park.
Yeah. And give
And
us
then
Yeah.
also in
another
Simpsons,
theme
yeah.
scare zone. Yeah. Give us
Or
another theme scare zone somewhere else.
as much as I love the truss, if we got to move away from it to get a better scare zone up there, more an arcade style, which
Mm,
I think it just set the tone for the event. It
Yeah.
wasn't the greatest scare zone in the world, but it didn't have to be. That's not the point of that zone.
mm-hmm.
I loved Anarcade.
Oh,
I
I know
believe
you did. I
I
know
know
you did.
Anarcade became, I think, was my number one scare zone that year. It was a selfie zone, but it was so visually pleasing, and it was just a fun place to hang out and takes selfies, and it really encapsulated the event. The last couple of years, I wouldn't say that what they've done in there has done that, and in the same way, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that said, let's move on to New York and Sweet Revenge. Anyone want to start us off there?
I love that zone. I think I don't think I it maybe it got a little dry just because I think that's the zone that I spent the most time in because there's just so much in that area that just draws you to be in that zone and stay in that zone. And that's where I can get some Reuben fries, you know? So, but I think I love the world building that they did and the storytelling and having it tie into the tribute store and that we're getting some merch from that zone. I love the kind of the icon that they built with you know sweets. I really like the work that they did in this zone. Please, more of this type. I love it. They
Mm-hmm.
definitely threw a lot of creativity into developing the story in this one.
Yeah, I don't think it hit the level I wanted or expected it to, but it was still a very good zone. I thought the scare actors in this were a ton of fun because
Yes.
they got to play like characters. You know what I
Yes.
mean? It was just like it's so diverse the style of character you got between everybody. So they just really got to go at it and kind of build their personas out, and I
Yes.
loved that. The parade float's amazing. I think the only things lacking are kind of like show scenes.
Mm-hmm.
I think utilizing that space to be able to do that and get that out of a scare zone is great.
Uh-huh.
Um, I mean, there's not much else. I think it just like wasn't fully up to the level I wanted it to be, um, and I do wonder, like, if the scare actors weren't as good as they were, how disappointed could I potentially be? I think it's just a lot of there were some really good sets, fleshed out even more. I think it's probably what it really is for me. But again, scare actors were so great that it kept it at a very high level for me.
Yeah, so I loved a lot of the characters in the zone. I loved the vibe most of the time. My issue, again, and I feel like I'm going to say this a lot this episode, was inconsistencies just across the event. And I don't know if it was maybe, fire crew were in roles some like most of the time that they weren't
Mhm.
used to or what, but I don't know if it was one cast or the other. But in Sweets, there was most of the time there were these amazing scenes going on. We saw them doing the Cotton Eye Joe the other day with the mayor or the host or the announcer. I didn't
Yes.
get those a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kept seeing people like
Well,
saying, "Oh, Sweets is so good." And I'm like, "Well, is it on me? Am I not catching it?"
to be fair, I think that's one of those things like where that wasn't built in it didn't seem that's something that
Mm-hmm.
they evolved and created themselves, again creating the personas of these characters and what you can do. So like a lot of that fun stuff is just they went with it and eventually got there. I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the case here with stuff like that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So
that's
I
fair.
think it comes down to maybe again fleshing out whether it's physically or the story. um, and the story's obviously there, we've heard what the story is,
Mhm.
but is it portraying it to that level you know
Yeah, and maybe it's just, like I said, I don't know. There were definitely staffing issues at the end of September, beginning of October.
Mhm.
Not just in the zone, across the entire event. And again, I feel like I'm going to talk about that a lot. And again, we go a lot. We go multiple times. This is not the norm. People only go once, twice, maybe a couple times. So you're not going to notice these things all the time. But nitpicking, Sweets was just something that I was expecting it to actually be my number one and pass. Spoiler alert, what is my number one? Just because I thought this was going to be like a Shady Brook kind of a
Mhm.
moment.
Mhm.
And I don't know if like the actors were not given the leeway to do that or it just never got there. But for me, it just didn't hit like it hit for other people.
That's fair. That's fair.
All right, let's keep on trucking and let's conjure the dark. What do you guys think?
Um, it was good.
You didn't sound so confident.
Just
No,
good.
I was trying to
Just
find the
good,
right.
Duff.
I was trying to find the right word. I didn't want to say fine because I think it's better than fine, but it's also not like good. Good. It's just good.
Okay.
It was good. I think it had a vibe that was fun. There were some fun sets. I thought the show they did, well, weren't my favorite, mainly because again, let your talent do stuff and
Yeah.
talk. And this pre-recorded shit is annoying.
Live mics.
Yes.
Yes,
Please.
but
Yes.
like, I love the concept of like the portal being the cast change. That shit's cool. I liked it, but also like I don't know. It felt like we got to shove heavy metal in here somewhere. So the shit that's happening in the 1600s, they got septum piercings and heavy metal playing.
Hey, leave my rock troll people alone.
I thought the design was great. I'm just saying, like it's
I
weird.
like their
It's
little
weird.
septum rings.
I did too. I thought the designs were great. I did. It just felt like they forced a certain style into that zone.
I liked it.
Didn't need it.
I really liked it. I thought it was very fantasy, very which I normally like. I'm not like a Lord of the Rings type of I'm horror fantasy type of guy, but I thought it really worked. And it's just reminded me of kind of old HHN. I wasn't around for 15, but it felt very Terra Carentis to me.
I see what you mean. It combined, that a very fantasy, like hard rock, heavy metal kind of vibe.
Horror fantasy, yes. I loved it. I thought it was a good change of pace to the lightheartedness of the rest of the event, which I typically enjoy. And I think I like the lightheartedness overall, but I like having this as well. I thought it was great.
I thought both Graveyard and Scarecrow were much more dark than that one.
Really?
Oh yeah, by far, both. Yeah.
Yeah,
I could see the argument on Scarecrow. I don't necessarily agree with you on Graveyard, but we'll get to it when we get
there. So for Conjure the Dark, I was very excited for this one. Obviously, I think it was high on my hype list. It did not disappoint me. I think it kind of set out and did what it meant to do. I think makeup wise, this was probably my favorite of the entire event.
I do agree with that. There was some fucking designs. Chef's kiss.
Yeah. Yes. The sculpts, the application, and also my favorite thing at HHN is, as someone who is a big fan of the makeup and the SFX and everything, is watching, maybe some of the newer artists, and you don't know who does who, but seeing everything kind of change and get more polished. And not that it's not good from the start, but the makeup we get at the end of the run is always a little more dramatic, a little heavier. And this zone, I just feel like they took it and ran with the airbrushing and everything and the details in some of these faces. I loved it. I really did. But it was not in my top zones because of I don't know. It wasn't a cluster that normally is over there. It
wasn't, right? Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I think really they pushed the stage back pretty far. And I think the fact that there was a show most of the time when we went in there, it brought people who would normally just kind of linger around in some of the other zones, that brought them kind of out of the walkway to go kind of stand closer to that stage. It was good design this year on that zone.
My one complaint is costume wise, it felt very much like they went to Spirit Halloween and bought out of the bag costumes.
Yeah.
Where the makeup was so good, costuming was not.
Are you talking about one in particular for the most part?
Yeah, but also if you kind of looked at all of them, they looked very basic, but they added accessories at least to the other ones.
I see.
But Daphne, that girl up on the stage, I don't know her real name, or her character name. I'm pretty sure I saw that costume last week when I went to buy one. Yeah. It is so basic, and I know it was black light and all of that. She looked like Daphne. Renaissance Daphne.
But if there's no scare zone there, we might not get that Lombard's bar. So I appreciate you for that, Conjure the Dark.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I don't want.
Yeah, that place was great. Yeah.
Oh, and also that vibe worked really cool at those bars. I liked that a lot. It looked really good over there because it just carried over that Conjure the Dark aesthetic.
And the aesthetic was great there.
Yeah. Watch the shows from the couches.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we have to go all the way around the lagoon and to get to Scarecrow. What did you guys think?
It's very much like is it like a tier 4 or tier 5 for me? Like that kind of thing. Like I really enjoy it, but it felt very inconsistent. Whether that was
Yes.
staffing or
Yes.
sometimes it just does get so busy in there. It's impossible for these characters to really do much. Um, but I mean, I appreciate a lot of what they did. I thought the designs of a lot of these characters were phenomenal, like absolutely phenomenal. I appreciate the barn and having them up above you. Um, the actual like scarecrow where he pretended to be a scarecrow scare like fucked people up. It was so convincing if you didn't know, and even if you did know, there are people who knew and they just like, oh shit, he looked so real, I forgot. um, yeah, I think it had a lot going for it. It's just maybe the location is tough, man. Like there are ways to get around it. That's like less sets and more things up high. They did that with the barn, but it's still just it can be such a pain in the ass that I feel like it takes away from it, unfortunately, at points.
Yeah, I really felt the staffing issues in this one at certain times. There were times where I walked through where there was like just like maybe three or four characters, and it was like,
Mm.
wow, wow, yeah. It just felt at times quite empty. And I know it wasn't a cast change. It was just they just had issues keeping that one staffed for some reason,
Mm.
and I'm not sure why.
I do know, like, because I had a friend in the zone, who I will say made it a lot more fun for me. It always
Yes,
does when you have someone in it.
I love it.
Mm.
I love when I know
Um,
some. Yeah.
but I know that they particularly got pulled multiple times to go to houses
I
Hmm.
have heard
for
that
staffing
they
issues.
Yes.
that zone in particular that they had to pull
Hmm.
to yeah, so that's why it felt so sparse sometimes. I've heard that. Yeah.
Which I hate
Yeah,
to have to hold that against something, but I can only rate what I experienced.
exactly.
And not that I rate this low. I'm not saying it's bad or anything. It's just I feel like it could have been so much more if it was more consistent. But
Hmm.
it wasn't, unfortunately.
Yeah, I will say I liked this a lot more than I was expecting to because it was low on my hype list. Just because nothing will ever beat 27 Scarecrow to me.
Mhm.
But I really like this as like a sequel or like alongside that story because this is the outside portion of that where we were inside before.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. It added that traditional Halloween feel even more so with spooky cornfield.
I think that style of zone is definitely the way to go
Hmm.
moving forward, though.
Yeah.
Um, I know everyone longs for Trick or Treat and even Twisted Tradition, but I think Twisted Tradition already kind of leaned into what this vibe is. And I
Hmm.
think it suits itself so well to like a dungy kind of like you feel like you're in the middle of nowhere area. But you
Yeah.
again utilize the lighting and the trees above. This year they did it with lanterns, looked great.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah.
think they did a lot of things really, really right. I think it was just unfortunate circumstances that kind of kept it a little lower than it could have been.
Yeah.
I would love to see. This is like I guess like a hope for future. I don't know if I'll ever get it, but we speculated it before, and we obviously got actors up above on the barn. Would love to see a live role, like a flyer or something,
Hmm.
Mm.
or even like wasn't there in the Fallen? He wasn't flying, but he was like just strung up above you, like something like that. He like reached down as you walked
Oh
by,
yeah, yep,
just
yep.
something like that in the zone. And it makes it feel even more claustrophobic, and it's already a
Hmm.
clusterfuck, and that gets them off the street.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to say is I think they kind of oversold the barn a little bit.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
100%.
I
but
mean, I
well, like
listened to the podcast. They literally said, like, if you're one of those types of people who don't want to go, come to the event and don't want to go through a house, we're gonna make you go through a house this year. Like they sold it as it was. They were building like a giant, structure where it
mhm.
was gonna be like essentially like they were building a haunted house. That's not what we got.
I will say real quick to interject there. There is pretty strong rumors that it's because they could not like the reason pointless, but they could not end up building what they planned to build, and that's part of the reason that you remember the structure went up very fast, but then no progress happened for weeks.
Yes.
So then you're like, well, are they ever going to build this barn? So it seems like if that's true, they may have just had to settle with that, and they actually did plan on it being more of like a little kind of mini house experience, as they called it.
Yeah.
So again,
there's
we
just,
can only judge what we see. But
yeah, I know that they definitely had a bigger picture for this zone that didn't come, and what we got was still really good. But they definitely, up until a week or two. I mean, we get the scare zone announcements pretty late in the event. They were already still having that pitching that on the podcast as like, it's going to be unlike anything we've ever done before in a zone type of talk. Maybe they should have scaled that back a little bit when they realized that maybe it wasn't all going to come together the way
they overhyped a couple things this year, but we'll get to that later.
I mean, when don't they? It's kind of their job at the end of the day.
Yeah, but I feel like this was excessive for these two.
Okay, no, that's fair. That's fair. Anything else about Scarecrow Cursed Soil, though? Oh, no. All right. Well, last scare zone. Heading over to Hollywood. Jess, you can start this one out.
God, what a perfect scare zone. Am I right, guys?
Sure. Yeah, perfect. No, I loved it. I loved it.
It was so good. I'm sorry.
I liked it a lot. Yeah, I thought it was good.
It was just, and this was a zone where it's kind of what I wanted the Sweets actors to do. They took their characters and they ran specifically, the twins, everybody. Everybody gives them a shout out. I also want to give them a shout out, but not just the twins. Almost everyone, with an exception of a few, scare actors had just like, they were throwing everything into this. And just the theming and the lighting, it was so fucking dark in Hollywood. The lightning would crash, and then you have, I would say sleep and death, but death most of the days. Up there with his scythe and his wings. I love this zone. My heart lives in this zone forever.
This zone is called Graveyard Deadly Unrest, by the way. We didn't mention that.
Yes. Oh, sorry, I got excited.
No, it's okay. I understood.
Yeah, I wish I had spent more time in it. It's just one of those logistically that the way that I did the park a lot, I wouldn't go through it until it was 2 a.m. It's when I went through it, it was daytime, so I didn't get the full experience. I did spend some time in there, especially since I had a friend in there, but it definitely didn't spend as much time as I would have liked to, but what we got, it was really good. It was a really good zone. I think it really did come together. Some of the concerns I had early on, they really did have a lot of different type. I was worried it was going to be very similar kind of characters, and we wouldn't get a lot of depth. And no, we got some really cool different types of characters in there. They did a really good job building the story here.
I think one thing I'm really going to remember this zone for is it probably has the most ominous entrance I've ever seen. When it was dark and the fog was really pumping and you could just kind of see this old entrance to a graveyard, claps of lightning in the back as well. It created such like a foreboding aesthetic out front that before you even go in it, like if you are someone who is afraid of scare zones or you're new to the event and that gets you nervous, like I feel like if you looked at that, you'd be shitting your pants about walking in there. You'd have no interest in walking into the scare zone. And I think that's something we could use a little bit more of, not just within the zones themselves, but creating the aesthetic from the outside and kind of welcome you to the zone. And I think it nailed it in a way that I haven't seen one do maybe ever. Like it was to an insane level for me. And it carried out through the entire zone. The amount of times I couldn't see through the fog in a good way, not in a I can literally never see. And the sets, just great quality. The lighting that they used, it was great. It was amazing.
Yeah, I also just love that the gates very much contained it and the story told itself. You didn't need to know anything going into this.
No, you didn't. No.
It was, it did get hit with inconsistencies, like I said, with sleep and death, but I love this zone. I really do.
I think if you asked me right now if I could take anything from this year and turn it into like a house in another year, a sequel, a prequel, whatever, I'm taking Graveyard. And I know it's more basic, and I know we've had graveyard games, but I think the little story we got and the aesthetic it creates lends itself very, very, very well to a house.
I would also love to see it, that whole blacklight aspect of some of the characters, where they're not always what they appear to be until they hit the light.
Yes.
That developed into a house in a graveyard with a backstory would be so cool. And different enough from graveyard games. Yeah. Yep. I loved those characters. And little backpack skeleton. Just the character designs in here, it was also so different.
Crazy, different decades. Right? How far they went with character design for just a graveyard.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of the things we had heard was like, you can imagine what the characters are going to look like, right? No, you could not have. Some of them, maybe.
Exactly. That's what I said. I have to eat my hat on that one because I literally said I have when I close my eyes, I can imagine what the characters are going to look like. I was totally wrong. Totally wrong what they came up with. It was awesome job in this one.
I feel like a proud mom.
Yeah, no, you were right. You were right from the jump on this one. It was really good.
So, with that, why don't we rank these zones? We don't need to discuss them much as we rank them. Just a quick little blurb, but we'll go from 5 up to 1 if anyone feels so inclined to kick us off.
Horrors of Halloween.
Yeah, Horrors of Halloween.
Horrors of Halloween.
I forgot the name.
No. Oh, I mean, I literally was at the park today, and as we were walking through it, I was on the phone with Mary, and I was like, she's like, oh, what does it look like? Like, what's happening? And I was like, oh, everything's mainly up except this, the one at the front, the Pumpkin Lord, I don't know why, but the entire year, this zone's name would not stick in my head.
Because the zone wouldn't stick in your head.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. It is not only is it my bottom, it is definitely the most forgettable. I think there's like things that I don't enjoy that much that will always stick in my head because they had something stand out, and maybe in a bad way. This, I'll think of Pumpkin Lord, and that's about it. After that, gone. Won't remember it.
Yep.
Number 4, I had Conjure the Dark.
So did I.
My number 4 is Scarecrow.
Which is my number 3.
That is my number 3 as well.
My number 3 is Conjure the Dark.
And my number 2, Sweet Revenge.
That is also my number 2.
My number 2 is Graveyard, Deadly Unrest.
And my top is Graveyard, Deadly Unrest.
That is my number 1.
Number 1 is Sweet Revenge.
All right. Yep. I'm not surprised by our rankings at all. Not one bit.
I will say, I want to brag for 5 seconds that my number 1 hype was Graveyard, and what won Zone of the Year? Boom.
Yeah. It was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah. I mean, it's my number 2. All right.
No, I know.
It's not
I mean, I didn't expect this to be my second favorite. I had it.
I think you had it like 4, right?
Yeah, I had it. I want to say.
I think we thought about that. I think I got upset.
Yeah, I mean, you were right. You're 100% right. It all came together on this one. I was I had some concerns about, and it was great. It was really good.
Well, that leaves us with the final piece of the event that we need to discuss. The longest piece, and probably the most important piece for 99% of the people who visit the event, the houses.
Yes. All right. Well, do we want to just that took a long time going around and then doing our list. Should we just kind of start with our list? How do we want to do it?
I think anytime we start with our list, the issue is that we end up talking about the same house over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
So I think we discuss first and just shoot through the list, because I thought we just shot through that list really fast.
Okay.
We're not going to go around in order. I do have just a list pulled up, and we're just going to go through the list in the order it's in. And then, but so this one, we're going to start with Descendants of Destruction, which it caught me off guard with how much I liked it, guys.
I love this house.
It really caught me off guard. It had, of course, we kind of knew the dystopian Mad Max vibes kind of going on, and they told you it'd be the whole, you go deeper and deeper and see what the humans have turned into, basically. And I thought their progression, not my favorite part, how they progressed. I think it could have happened quicker and shown a bit more, but loved it. The aesthetics were great, especially when you get into that like final third. Everything before the set pieces are amazing. That fucking crash subway train, how they add
Oh
that
my
scale.
gosh.
Um,
Yes.
there's just so much that worked so well, and I feel like it it just like was quietly moving up throughout the entire season for me. It wasn't one that was like, oh
Same.
my god, every time. Just I realized like, oh man, it's higher, it's higher in my rankings. Because I think after week one, I had it at like I said great things about it, but I had it like kind of on the lower end, and I don't know if that's going to be the same today.
Mm.
Yeah,
I love this
absolutely.
house. I think I went in with this pretty high on my hype list because I love the whole dystopian Mad Max vibe. That's very
Hmm.
much something I'm into. I love anytime there's bioluminescent blacklight in a house.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Done
love
so well
seeds.
too.
So
Yeah,
well.
and I
So
love
so
that this
well.
is like the spiritual cousin to Seeds. I know, it's not a direct sequel or whatever, but it just the actors also very much understood that they had to be aggressive because this
Yes.
story is aggressive. They're fighting for their lives. And I loved it. I loved it so much. My little baby's in the glow room. I don't know if any of you will ever listen to this show, but I love you. I gave them little kisses last night, and they all gave me little hearts.
I
It was
think
very
that
sweet.
that pinball at the end there
Oh,
is one of the best scares when it hit well of the entire year.
with the big bitch at the end, that
And then
final scare,
you had pinball, and then immediately turn into a 6'5" glowing creature.
right in your face, and he was in your business the entire time.
Yeah.
It
Mm-hmm.
was wild. I love this house, the scale in a tent, in a
In a
tent.
tent. In a
I
tent.
mean,
Yes.
the thing is, we keep acting shocked, and this happens fucking every year.
I know.
We're always like, the scale they built in this sprung tent. We're like, at what point are we just going to go, yeah, we expect it? But we
Yeah.
can't, because, like, you look and you're just like, what? How? What the fuck? How'd you do this? Insane. And I think not only did it use that scale in the
Duff.
sense of sets.
Jess, did you
Stuff.
lose Duff?
Yeah,
Because
now it
I.
says you're offline.
Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
really?
Oh no.
let
All
me
right. We'll just
stop.
take a
Let
little
me
break. He'll be
stop.
back. Yeah.
Lead us into Dead
The
Man's
next.
Beer?
All right. The next one, guys. Dead Man's Pier.
I'm going to say it right now, and I've said it before, I think. The best sets I have ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Ever. Period.
Yes. Yeah. If you're just looking at the sets, absolutely the best sets they have. I think they've ever built.
And maybe not just sets, immersiveness. The way they controlled the cold and the rain. And sometimes it was rain, sometimes it was just mist. And you felt it all. You felt it all. And I think that's insanely impressive. And of course, we talked about scale and Descendants, but like the scale of this house blows me away just thinking back about it. The one that really got it for me, and I don't know if everyone else agrees, as like the biggest piece of scale, because I know there's an obvious scene, but mine is when you walk along the side of that like docked ship,
Mm-hmm.
and like the mist is coming up from it, and you have like the static prop older man up top of way above you. I think the scale right there, because you're in this claustrophobic area, just walking along the side of the dock, massive boat docked right there. Incredible.
Yeah, it's just every scene. Honestly, every scene in this house was just beautiful, perfect. I wasn't expecting to love it. I mean, we all remember I was
Yeah.
shocked on the Catacombs episode when everyone had it at number one except me. But it became a comfort house for me almost this year. So
Yes.
I spent so much time with those fish boys.
Yeah. No, this house was beautiful, and I think and so fun. It wasn't scary, but I don't know. I'm the first one to proponent that not every HHN house has to leave. You don't have to leave it scared.
No.
If you leave it, if you're having a good time, then they did their job. You don't have to be scared leaving a house. They did so good. And just everything that they did here is near perfect. It's just so good. It was moody. I think that I wish it was maybe there were at least at times maybe a little bit more intense character wise. But it for what they were trying to do here, I think the moodiness and the dreariness worked. It was a great house.
I will say this is the one house where inconsistency kind of made it wave for me throughout the season. And that is staffing wise. There were actually, I would say, like the second half of the run, we lost that scare kind of going up and around that corner where they were like in the tarps. And that losing that kind of pinball aspect over there took away the intensity for me. We lost a lot of other scares. The door scare fell off just like it did in Yeti. I don't know why they didn't learn their lesson. So as much as I loved it, there would be runs where I would walk through and just be, disappointed. And like Duff and I would go through it and just go, we'd round a corner and go, oh, they're not there. Oh, they're not there. The one person who did get really consistent, like out of nowhere, was the flying actor. Once he like learned how to do that role, I never missed him.
Yes.
Incredible.
The first week
I figured
there were
it
some
out.
huge issues, and then they and then they figured it out. Yeah.
Yeah, but last night my run, I think there were only maybe 1 or 2 spots missing people, which was fantastic for the final night.
Yeah, it was a great run to finish it, which I appreciate very much.
Yeah.
And I will say, going back to the bungee scare, not too long ago on an episode of Catacombs on the Hot Ones episode, Hot Takes episode, sorry, don't want to get copyrighted. I mentioned that I think that it was a poor use, while it's cool in concept, poor use of a bungee scare. And they shut me the fuck up halfway through the event when they figured out how to use it really well. The way they could launch themselves to get from side to side and use that spot aggressively, incredible. They really figured it out, and I had to eat my words on that one.
Yeah.
Anchor eater.
That's me now.
Welcome to the club.
All right. What is the next one we are going to discuss?
Let's go to... Oh, that's kind of a drop off. Hell Block Horror!
The H is for Hell Block. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't know if we have a lot to talk about.
No, I mean, here's the thing. We basically had the same opinions we have now opening weekend. I think the difference was after the opening weekend, we said, we see where it can get better. I don't think it happened. That's it. It was...
Just never did.
The sets were boring. The story wasn't there.
Yeah.
They reused characters
poorly.
We should like it. Great. I love some fan service. But it was very clear they used it because we just need to shove something in here. And that's what they did.
They definitely overhyped the fan service. There was no world building here. It was
All right, moving on.
Yeah. Wait, I will say the run last night was a nice swan song.
Oh, you had a good run?
I wouldn't say a good run. We applaud on closing night. We clap for everybody. Yeah. They were all very appreciative of the love. I don't know if they got a lot of it this year.
Yeah. It was a good way to go out, I guess, to say the least.
They were very, very sweet. Little heart hands from the little monsters. It was cute.
All right. Can we leave this one now?
Yeah, are we going to the one next door?
No, we're not.
Okay, good. I wasn't ready for that.
Few doors down.
Yeah, we don't want to stay in the negative. We'll bounce back.
So we are going to hop over to Fiesta de Chupacabras.
Can I kick it off?
Yeah, absolutely.
I absolutely adore this house. I don't even know. It has grown on me so much from the beginning as well. It is beautiful. It is scary. The stories that they're telling. I just love it. I had a near perfect run last night, or on closing night. I'm really gonna miss this one of all of the houses. It's just so amazing. I just love it.
I think, unfortunately for me, this one was mired by inconsistencies due to staffing. And I think at points timing and, whatever it may be. However, it is the single best piece of storytelling in the entire event this year,
Yes.
by far.
When it's
They
staffed
can,
well, it is a perfect house. So
and
good.
even when it wasn't staffed well, you knew the story. It was conveyed so easily to you what was happening, and perfect in storytelling. Sets also, I think people don't talk about it enough. That facade and the depth involved, and what is kind of you're entering the fiesta, and
The fireworks going off and the music
mhm.
in the distance. Yeah.
Yes.
Fantastic.
And there are other sets involved, like when you go into like the village square, and suddenly
Yes.
you had this really
Yes.
claustrophobic house just fully opened up out of nowhere, right?
Yes.
And it had so many details and the firecrackers going off the top of the buildings, and it, yeah, sets were amazing. Character design was great. People, we'll discuss about the chupacabras specifically if they're great, but otherwise, I'd say most people would agree.
The pacing when the staffing is right, the pacing is great. I love that they good usage of like scares and puppets and people. And I love the one where the boo hole where they had like the victim and then the person chasing them. They had like two
Mm-hmm.
in the same boo hole. Just a lot of really fun stuff going on there.
I really did not love this house. I'm sorry.
Oh
I said it
no!
every week.
Oh
I love this
no!
story. I grew up, hearing about chupacabras where I'm from. Um, but it never hit. And I've said it. I feel like I've said it every episode since, we started this season. It took until I think 2 weeks ago for me to have a run where one, I saw most of the scare actors and, some even came out for me. Before that, everything was happening before or after me or the boo holes were empty. This one I feel like was never staffed when I went through it. And the scares don't make the house, but without the storytelling of the actors, even though I know the story, it was just not hitting for me. And I was so
Mm-hmm.
disappointed by that. And I know it happens every year to some people in some houses. Just This was the year where I did not get a good run.
That's disappointing.
It sucks. But I love the mask maker. I love the interactions I had with her. I loved the podcast episode about this story.
Mm-hmm.
So everything was lined up. It just didn't hit for me.
Fair enough. It happens. I think that is one for me that we'll get to. I have a house like that as well. We'll get there.
So this next one is going to be an interesting one for me based on what I said opening weekend and what I'm saying now. That's going to be Bugs Eaten Alive. Where I had that number 2, I believe, coming out of opening weekend and said, oh man, I enjoy that so much it could be a number 1. It's not number 1. Spoiler alert. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just kind of one of those that you almost like get used to it and it kind of loses its charm. Because I think it was campy, it was fun, and I'm not fully down on it by any means. It's just not where it once was for me, and it has nothing to do with consistencies. To be fair, for the most part, it was pretty consistent. I think it just kind of like is. It was more like a shock factor how much I had fun in it that kind of wore off as the event went on and on.
Yeah. I have very similar opinions. The very first time I went through it, I hated it. I thought I would never get back in. And then I kept going back through it, and I started to really, really like it. And I thought, hey, I started to see all the inside jokes and all the campiness. And then it just kind of just started to drop off. This one, I had a lot of staffing issues in this one. There was a lot of I think things that just weren't there anymore for some reason. I've noticed. It was a great house. It just, I think I just didn't want to go in it. And I think the trypophobia stuff, I think, played a big role. It just was really gross. It was a gross house to walk through. and they did their job. But it just wasn't my favorite. It wasn't my jam, unfortunately.
Yeah. This was one that I really liked opening weekend as well. And then as we started to lose some of the bug characters in one of the casts, and then slowly in the other cast as well, and it became more of these victims, the story just started to be less and less campy, because you take away the big roach and, you know, the big jumbo grub and all of that, it's just victims with holes in their faces. And I think that's part of the charm in the house, is that these characters are big and goofy, and you like latch onto them. And I think that if there was one like cult house, it was this one.
And I see why. I get it. I get why fully.
Absolutely. It just, again, inconsistency. I feel like I'm going to repeat myself for a lot of these, and they can't help it. People, you know, they sign up to Scare Act and then they decide it's not for them, or whatever happens, or, you know, they have to spread them out to other things like the IPs. I understand that. And the originals will fall, but it just sucked because this house was so good opening weekend for me.
Yeah, it's something I want to discuss more, but I don't really have anything to say because I can't quantify why it fell for me. It just became less enjoyable, just cause. Really, I don't know. It's unfortunate. I feel like there's always something like that every year where it's kind of like, I don't know why, but this is how I feel about it, and that's kind of what happened.
I think Jess nailed it. I think when you take away the fun and all these other things, it makes going through it just more gross. And I think that, you know, with the people who deal like me, who deal with the trypophobia, if you take away the fun and you just put more, I didn't have a reason to go through it anymore because they took away all the fun bug characters. A lot of the gags just weren't there anymore. And the novelty wore off for me. And it was just like, well, you know, it's not fun to walk through anymore. So I'm not necessarily going to pick it. And this one, if you did not have Express Pass, I know a lot of people ran into issues of the wait being way longer than posted. I know a lot of people ran into some issues where it would posting 30 and they waited nearly 90 minutes. So, you know, that's 2 times more than what's posted is just, it could, you know, ruin your night. It would really frustrate me. I didn't experience that, but I've heard stories and I get why people were frustrated.
Well, unfortunately, I don't want to keep us on a down note because I didn't expect us to go that down on bugs. But Spirits of the Coven.
Okay, can I go first?
Yes, please.
I have to. I'm sorry. This was my number one hyped house going into opening weekend.
Yeah.
And I'm crowning this term. This is mine. Personally, this is my Beetlejuice of the year.
I like it.
Where anyone can use that term, just credit me, please. But yeah, Beetlejuice is my IP, and last year I had the same issue going in. I was very excited. Coven Witches, Speakeasy, 1920s. I love a period piece. And it just never hit. Even with the sound redesign, they tried. And this has nothing to do with the actors. It really starts at the sets for me and goes from there.
Yep.
And I don't want to like go down and keep, you know, beating a dead horse because I've talked about it the whole season. I do love the actors in this house. I think that they tried their hardest. And I'm going to say something. So neither of the guys, no one can say anything that the guy said it. Just because you don't like this house doesn't make you a fucking misogynist. The amount of times I saw that goddamn tweet this year, people, you can dislike something and it's not like social commentary, excuse me. Stop it. I know this was feminism in the house. I said it. Yes, all of the victims were male. I love that aspect of it. But not liking this house did not mean that you don't like women. It means that you didn't like this house because it was not a great house. I'm sorry. All right. That's it.
Yeah. Well, no, Mike, you also, I know you have some feelings about it, so I'll let you go next.
Yeah. I mean, me too, Jess. You and I were locked up and ready to, really love this house. And I would say I love the buildup of the house. I love the first. I am okay with the slow pace and the it just didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
You have, if you're gonna start a house out with slow pacing and just kind of storytelling type of elements, you need to build up to something. And once we got out of the speakeasy and we got into some of those, it was the same type of stuff for too long. And then when we got into those last two scenes where they were supposed to be these big the scale just was not there on those last two scenes. When you get to the witch conjuring area, that could have been huge, and that could have
It
been,
should have been.
and it really should have been. And then when you turn around and you get to the stage, that also could have been a big jaw-droppy scene. That's what that house needed. It needed to build up to something. And those were it just didn't get there. The pace has to go somewhere. You can't just stay into that slow buildup forever, and then you're gonna get a boring house, and that's what we got, unfortunately.
Well, I was gonna come in and say I don't want to use that word because I hate using that word for houses, but I'm gonna use that word. It got boring. Basically, for me, the first third, I guess you can call it, so much potential, fun sets, fun design. Basically, once you pass the roulette table, it gets boring and repetitive.
Some great characters too.
And the thing is, it's not even just repetitive based off the sets and what you're seeing. It's repetitive in the way they designed the scares and the boom holes.
And some of the scares were really fun. I think the bartender's scare, where he comes around and kind of swings that bottle at you, that's a scary scare. If you get that right, that is a scary. I mean, to have, you think someone's going to hit you with a bottle. It just needed more of those scares. So once you got past some, it just didn't go anywhere. We needed more types of scares. And they're. And I think this one in particular, I think the Duff, we've talked about it a couple of times. We've got some inconsistencies between the cast of how they did some of the scares. That made some of the scares just some characters would really lean into to it, and and some would just kind of do it in a much more of a passive way. Some of their scares, you saw that in this one a lot.
Yep.
Yeah,
definitely.
Sure.
But I don't have much more to add than you guys said. It's the same reasons.
I didn't want to, I didn't want to out anyone in particular, so I wasn't going to talk about any elements. But there were a couple of that just weren't quite. The scares were quite passive in this sense.
I will say, there were two actors in this house. I want to say something positive. The Flapper Witch, both of them, no matter what cast, in that room with the bartender, always killing it. Very aggressive. I loved her triggers. And then the guy who was cutting the pig open, cutting the bottles out of the pig, he was normally pretty aggressive. And in the beginning, that guy in the alleyway used to be aggressive. And I don't know what happened, but that was my favorite scare in the house, and then that disappeared. So again, inconsistencies. But those two actors in particular, they were always killing it.
The bartender to me got me every time. I knew he was going to come around at some point and swing the bottle at my head, but I just didn't know when. Like, is it going to happen? Is it happen? And he would get me, and it was there were some really good scares in there.
All right, well, let's get on to one I think we all are a lot higher on: The Weekend After Hours Nightmare, which, of course, a special place in my heart, and I was never down on it, but it felt like one that could do a lot of bouncing around. I was like, I think it might fall a little bit lower, and it was maybe the most consistent house of the year for me. You always knew you like a floor level that you were going to get of an experience of that house, and the changes they made to the soundtrack, I think, grew on me eventually. The use of lighting, the way they tied it in with the sets themselves, it was amazing. It was beautiful. And it just told a grotesque tale that like legitimately was intense and scary.
Yeah, I really like this one. This is the one that when Jess was saying that her chupa, I'm going to coin a term. Um, like this one kind of was a bit of like Jess's chupacabra for me, where I just never had a perfect a run. This one, I think I would get a good scare or two, but it seemed like more the scares were more just like on stages or interacting with each other, and not necessarily interacting with me a lot in this one. And it was good. I liked what they did it, but I never had quite the run that just floored me in this one. Something was just missing, but it was still quite good for what we got. I'm not I'm doubting it. It's in my top 5.
Yeah, that sucks. I will say in the beginning, this was my number 1 first couple weeks. It fell off a little bit. I do think there was a house that was more consistent that we'll get to, but this one was right behind it. Like Duff said, you were going to get a base level amount of scares in the house. Sometimes maybe like Stilt Frog wouldn't be there, but towards the end of the run, it was a lot more consistent. The staffing was there. The music change grew on me as well. I think a little bit faster than Duff, but I don't have the ties to this IP, obviously, like you do. But this was just so fun, and I need more music houses at HHN. I don't care the genre, I think, at this point. I think this proved that it can work.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So let's move on to the horrors of Blumhouse.
What a house that came out of left field and was actually good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Not expecting that at all.
This was the scariest house of the year, guys, in my opinion.
I think at least half of it was. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Even the freaky parts, I think, were pretty good, at least scare-wise. But yeah, that second half, quite scary. Really good. Great pacing, great timing, some great characters. Just scary. I know the group that we mostly went with. There was a plenty of people who would just be terrified when we got out of this house. This one was scary for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, the Black Phone, it was dark, it was intense, but the part we were worried about didn't come to fruition. It told the story well and had fun settings. It worked. It really worked.
Yeah. I was very shocked. I was expecting this to be about as good as the other 2 versions, excuse me. But this, I mean, I feel like everyone has this opinion. This is the best Blumhouse that we've got.
And to me, it's not even close.
Not even close.
No, not even.
Just on the Black Phone portion alone, I think you would the freaky was inconsistent, but I actually liked the freaky elements. It was very much just a traditional slasher-esque type of house, but it did that better than another slasher that we got this year, in my opinion. It just even the freaky portion of it.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's talk about the one you were alluding to then. Halloween.
Do-do-do.
Do-do-do.
They tried something. I think this one...
They didn't really try anything. They just they made Halloween. And that's not necessarily
They really wanted to do a book report. Yeah, that's the best way to describe it.
Really badly.
It was a book report. They wanted,
start to finish.
Yeah, we even went through the credits. Like,
it's technically not bad. Like everything about it is like it's a solid house. I'm like offended that they went with that cold open.
You're offended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Horror blue balls. I've said it since opening weekend. Horror blue balls, and I did not like it.
Yeah.
The house like grew on me a little bit. The closet scare was really good.
I believe we walked through with Jonathan from the hotline, and his words was, "Oh, they really just throw you in here, don't they?" Like it was like they're like, "Yeah, we're just going right in. We're just right in a room." Yeah, no, they do. They just throw you right in,
and not even like throw you in, like feed you to the wolves, like it's instantly intense. Literally, just throw you into the.
You just walked right into the room. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
cool.
Wow.
Yeah, all right.
This is it really feels like a haunted house.
Yeah. I would have rather started with the title card.
Same.
All day.
Yeah.
I know everyone will say
Stranger Things. Let's try it again.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm good. Hard pass. But again, I think everything else about it, it's a solid house at the end of the day.
Some really good elements.
Mm-hmm.
I think there that Michael at the top of the stairs,
Mm-hmm.
and then that you get that scare right after because you're sitting there staring at him
Mm-hmm.
and the scale that they have there, and then you get to that was a really fun moment. There
The
are
house
some
itself, huge,
yes,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
beautiful, looks great.
yes,
The closet
um,
scare.
Closet
yeah,
scare,
Them on either side of you.
the
yes,
gunshot scare worked pretty
Mm.
well. It has the mirror room, of course, which fucks people up.
Ugh,
yeah,
me.
And when he was there, they had a stinger Michael at the end too, which is always fun.
I never
yeah.
saw him.
Wait, never? Not once?
I never noticed him. I didn't
Oh,
know there was a stinger until you said it yesterday.
oh,
I
wow.
never saw him.
He wasn't always there. There were definitely times I walked through and there was no
Oh
stinger.
no, I mean, I'd say less than half the time I saw him for sure, but he did exist at some point
Oh,
at least.
he probably existed in a run I was there then if you've seen him, but
Yeah,
I
probably.
haven't. Oops.
Oh
Doo-doo-doo.
well.
I think I only saw him once, and I didn't do this house too many times, but I think I only saw
Yeah.
him there once.
Yeah. I think the best way to sum up the house, it's a Halloween house.
Doo-doo-doo.
Doo-doo-doo. All right, one house left to discuss.
Yay, yay,
Universal
yay,
Monsters, Legends Collide.
yay, 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 yay.
God damn.
God.
God damn.
Ugh.
The
Yes.
intensity in the sets of this house and the
Yeah.
pacing. It was like pacing in the sense like it was just relentless.
They
It
did
did
not
not stop.
stop
Yeah.
ever. And
Even
each actor had multiple boo holes. So
They
they would
did,
just
and I loved
keep
that
ping
on that.
ponging you, one actor or
Mhm.
two. Like,
that
ugh.
specific mummy scene at the camp, amazing. That Dracula mirror scare,
Oh my
amazing.
God.
Because not only usually when you get a mirror scare like that, that's like a redirect. You'll immediately get it.
No.
He just disappears, and then they fuck you up with Wolfman first, so you forget about Dracula for a second. You turn left away from Wolfman, and then Dracula's there.
In your face. Every night he would get me. And
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure he would just see me coming after a couple weeks. And last night we had a moment and I thanked him for all the good scares and he gave me a little kiss. But that mirror one specifically would wreck me and probably would
Mhm.
laugh at me afterwards because
Yeah.
I would just scream and run.
The way they designed the scares in this house was ingenious. Just to do
Mhm.
so many unique and well done scares
hmm
in one house is so impressive. And of course, you have the Bungie Legends colliding scare,
They do
which
be
when you got
colliding.
it right, oh my god.
But
Yeah.
they got it. This house is my most consistent of the year. Even on nights where we knew staffing was low, I was still getting ping ponged through this house. And that Legends Collide room, I would say I missed all three of them maybe a handful of times. And I went through this house. I realized every single night I went to HHN, this was the one house I would absolutely do.
Mm-hmm.
So for me to only miss them a handful of times, that's really good. Their timing is fantastic.
Yeah, guys, if this is we've had 3 Universal Monsters houses in a row. If this is the quality we're gonna get every year,
Mhm.
let's get one every year because this it's just not getting old. They're coming up with new ideas, and every year, like we got the first Universal Monsters, which is some people's best house ever. We got Bride of Frankenstein Lives, which was a beautiful house. I think the only thing to knock about it is it was a COVID restricted one, and we got it 2 years in a row.
Mhm.
And then we got this one. Holy crap! Like,
Yeah.
let's keep it up.
Oh.
I'm the first. If we already got a Chucky announcement, I'm ready for another Universal Monsters announcement.
Same.
Let's see what it is. What's coming.
I was already team sign me up for this every year, but after Legends Collide, I'm team sign me up, make me a top donor, a booster.
Yep.
I will
Yeah.
carry its throne around. I need it if this is the quality we're going to continually get. Because I mean, we're talking absolute banger after banger
Yeah.
after banger that they've been putting
Yeah.
out with this current Universal Monsters franchise, and I know some people have said they're tired of it.
I'm not.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck. You're gonna have to deal with this because it's great.
Yeah,
It's fucking great.
I'm tired of Michael Myers at the event.
Yeah,
A lot of people
Universal
are.
Monsters. They're using different characters and different stories and originally told
They've done
stories.
Halloween 78 how many fucking times? God,
I mean,
okay.
only twice, but
I know, but it's too many.
Universal Monsters are universal. They are.
That's a shirt right there.
Yeah, they are universal. Right?
like the old billboards.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine going to HHN without a Universal Monsters house after these three at this quality. I think it would feel different not having these iconic characters in the way that we've got them for the last 3 years. I think we've been spoiled, and I hope they keep spoiling us. It's so amazing. I really would love to see. I mean, obviously, I don't want them to start dipping into the well, and we start getting, some of the really lesser than ones. There's still a lot to them that they can, the stories they can tell with these.
Yeah, this house was the scariest for me by far. I think a lot of people agree. Throughout across all 10 houses, this one was consistently terrifying. And then also I remember going into these and saying, I like the monsters, but these 3 aren't my monsters. I'm not excited. I had Bride last year, I'm gonna eat my words again. This house, I feel like it might be in my top 10 of all time. I feel like it has to be at this point because 29 was, and I think this knocked 29 out of it.
Wow.
This house was that good.
I mean, to be honest, I don't think it is. I'll have to assess, but it is not far from my top 10 of all time. And that's good. It takes a lot to get into that top 10, even though it's been happening every year. Yeah. Really,
it's not that for me, but it is a great house. It is a really good.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
Well,
also, wait, can we talk about the Cat in the Hat real quick?
Yes.
Last night, before we, do all the rankings, we did standby for Monsters, and we got out with 3 minutes to spare, and they let us into the weekend. The people who actually closed out Monsters, one of the mummies had Cat in the hat and tie on, and he was scaring people in the boo hole, and I'm so sad I missed that. But our run was still fantastic. They were all hype because they found out they had won House of the Year. We were all hype. It was the best way to send this house off. Okay, I'm done.
Yep, no. And then while we're sharing that, we might as well also add one other thing we know for the final run of Horrors of Blumhouse, that the grabber who was sitting in the chair in the kitchen was actually a real person.
For like the last, I think, 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So also very cool to get that.
So if you've never been to closing night, you get some of these fun little experiences sometimes.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but.
No, it's not guaranteed by any means, but it does happen.
Last year we got, Jack himself. James Keaton was actually Jack on the throne for, I think, 5 minutes. But if you caught him, you caught him.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was longer than that. I think he did like not a full set.
No,
but like a shortened set. Wasn't like 15 minutes?
If it was, I was in the line because I closed it out. I didn't close it out for the night, but it was like 1:45 or whatever. Mm-hmm. I was in the line and watched him get in the house. I was 20 people away. By the time I had gotten through the house, he was off the throne. And I know I was in there when he was on the throne. So.
Wow.
It was not 15 minutes. If it was, apparently I took too long. But I was right there.
I'm sorry. I mean, I know you missed him, but I didn't realize it was like that.
It's okay. He married me the night before, so I can't be that mad.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right. Well, let's do the damn thing.
Let's do it.
And our final rankings.
Let's do it. Let's get to our house ranking.
All right. Who wants to kick us off with number 10?
Can we all say it at once?
3, 2, 1. Hellblood Horror.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. I went along with that. I knew that was her number 10.
I don't know why you did either.
Okay, well, Duff and I are on lockstep. Okay.
Well, my number 9, Spirits of the Coven.
My number 9 is Hell Block.
My number 9 is Halloween.
My number 8 is Halloween.
Oh, my number 8 is Choopy.
Ew.
Oh.
I told you I didn't have good runs.
Oh no. My number 8 is Bugs Eaten Alive.
My number 7 is Horrors of Blumhouse.
My number 7 is Spirits of the Coven.
My number 7 is Halloween because I did have good runs through it.
My number 6 is Bugs Eaten Alive.
My number 6. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Sorry, that's also my number 6. Sorry.
My number 6 is Horrors of Blumhouse.
My number 5 is Fiesta de Chupacabras.
Yikes! My number 5 is
The
Weekend.
It's 5. It's not. Jeez.
My number 5 is The Weekend After Hours Nightmare.
Yikes.
Yeah. My number 5 is The Horrors of Blumhouse.
And my number 4 is Descendants of Destruction.
My number 4 is Universal Monsters Legends Collide.
Yikes.
My number 4 is also Descendants of Destruction.
My number 3 is Descendants of Destruction.
My number 3 is Dead Man's Pier.
My number 3 is also Dead Man's Pier.
Oh, here we go.
My number 2 is Dead Man's Pier.
You want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
My number 2 is The Weekend After Hours Nightmare.
Same.
My number 1 is Festia de Chupacabra.
My number 1 is Universal Monsters Legends.
I know you're laughing at my pronunciation.
Just a little bit. Yeah, I mean, if you would have told me after opening weekend Dead Man's Pier would have dropped to 3, I would not have believed you.
I would have laughed in your face.
If you would have told me after the first weekend that Chupacabra would be my number 1 house, I wouldn't have believed you either. It has really grown on me. I've just had basically the opposite of Jess, I guess. I've just had amazing runs in there. I guess I just got lucky. It's so good
I'm jealous.
for me. Yeah.
Very jealous.
I mean, Legends Collide's just... it was the last one we talked about. I don't have to go further into it. You know why I love it.
It was really good.
It was so good. It was just more consistent than The Weekend for me, and The Weekend was gonna be my number 1, I think, at one point. Because Dead Man's really dropped off. That's why. I mean, it was 3. I say really dropped off from number 1.
Yeah. I think from 6 all the way to 1 that were all very, very solid houses. I know you guys. I was shocked that I had The Weekend as 5. But it's just everything from 1 to 6 was really solid.
To be fair, I wasn't that shocked. I just wanted to give you the same reaction you gave me when I said Chupacabra at 5.
Wow, HHN 31.
Well, I guess that wraps up HHN 31 for us.
It does.
Wow.
It does. Well, we will be back next week with something.
We know
part 2 of the Hollywood.
Yeah.
Not Scary Farm.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that too.
I'm gonna go on for hours.
And then we have Schmitty's coming up.
Now we have Schmitty's probably the week after that.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
So we got a lot to talk about still.
And now that the season's over, we should be back to our normal weekly schedule and putting out more content and being more active on social media because we're going to be bored and not have as much to do.
That's fair. I will say, guys, it was a really nice season, being a part of 365. I did enjoy it so far.
We love to have
We're glad you're here.
Yeah.
I know. I'm just saying. Last season, my Scream Queens went on hiatus, and then, we didn't come back. So it was nice to go through the season, part of a podcast again.
Now you get a full off season with a podcast.
Ooh, now we really got to start working.
Oh, we are. We got fun stuff. We got.
I know.
Also, we've talked about it and kind of pseudo announced something and then canceled it. You have not seen the last of live trivia. I think
it's coming.
We did a live TikTok at The Final Day at Stay and Scream. I think you're going to see a lot more things like that on their way. So stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as always, you can interact with us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at HHN365 and at TikTok at HHN365pod. Check out our merch shop. There might be things coming there sooner rather than later at HHN365.bigcartel.com, and leave us a voicemail at 407-906-4134, and we will see you in the streets. It might be a while, but we will see you in the streets next year.